All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Shelley Gregory with Forge. My pronouns are they, them, or any pronoun. And we're gathering tonight to talk about planning your vote in Wisconsin for the November 2020 election. So what I'd like to talk about tonight, in addition to anything that folks want to chat about, is just going over some of the things we need to do to plan our vote. So we'll look at the key dates coming up, and then we'll take a look at these two websites, 866ourvote.org, which is the election protection website, and myvote.wisconsin.gov, which is the official website in Wisconsin to use for registering and requesting ballots and making sure that your ballot actually gets received back at your municipality. We'll talk about some of Wisconsin's voter ID issues and some other issues we might encounter at the polls, and we'll talk about how to get help, and we'll talk about some more volunteer opportunities as well. So first things first, we got a number of deadlines that are starting to come up. As you can see, it's October 8th, and here we are planning our vote. And we actually have like a few weeks to get things straightened out, but some of the online registration opportunities and things like that are going to be closing soon. And for folks who are able, we'll probably want to think about registering online and requesting absentee ballots if possible, which is going to be the safest and easiest way to vote this year. So that first deadline is coming up for registration. Online registration and registering by mail needs to be done by the 14th. So that's next Wednesday. So there's plenty of time to get registered if you're not registered, and we'll show you how to do that later. The next registration deadline then is October 30th, as you can see. For the whole rest of the month, you can continue to register in person at your city or town's clerk's office if you need to do that, and if you want to do it in person, we'll show you how to find out who your clerk is and where the office is. In terms of voting then, for those of us who are registered, Wisconsin has early voting, as I'm sure a lot of us know. It's technically in-person absentee voting, but we call it early voting. And that's going to open on October 20th. So from the 20th all the way to the 1st of November, all the way until 2 days before Election Day, we can vote early in person. You're definitely going to want to check with your clerk if you live somewhere outside of Milwaukee to make sure that they've got early voting on all of those days, but I can tell you that Milwaukee certainly has early voting from the 20th through the 1st of November. In terms of absentee voting, we can request absentee ballots as long as we're registered anytime, and technically we can do that all the way up until October 29th, a few days before the election. Experts in the state are recommending that folks do not request absentee ballots online unless you're able to do it by next week, by about the 15th of the month, so halfway through the month. The concern here is that if we make a request for an absentee ballot, it potentially has to go both ways in the mail. So one, it has to go from the clerk's office to your home, and then if you're mailing it back, obviously it has to go back in the mail to the clerk's office. So there's some concern that those ballots would potentially not be received in time. Now there are other ways to return absentee ballots, especially this year, drop boxes, and we'll talk about the drop boxes. And so that's probably a safer way to return your absentee ballot if possible, and to make sure that it gets in a timely fashion. And of course, in Wisconsin, we have same-day voter registration, which is not something that exists in a lot of other states, frankly. So if all else fails, and we're able to safely go to the polls on Election Day, the 3rd, if we need to register and vote, we can do both of those that day. Election Day by 8 p.m., that's when the polls close. That is also the deadline for returning absentee ballots. They have to be received by 8 p.m. And so that means they either have to be put in a drop box or they have to be received in your clerk's office in the mail by Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on the 3rd. A lot of things may be changing a bit in the next few weeks. We had a court decision that was just overturned today. One judge was going to extend the absentee return period by another 6 days, as long as the ballots were postmarked by the 3rd. Well, an appellate court overruled that today. And so that extended period for now is no longer available. So if you really want to be on the safe side and you're returning an absentee ballot, you really want to make sure you get it back by 8 p.m. On Election Day, the 3rd.